Welcome to G Fun Facts Online. Imagine for a moment that you are standing on a hillside during a violent summer storm. You watch a flash of lightning split the sky, illuminating the distant clouds. Then, a few seconds later, you hear the rolling boom of thunder. That delay between the flash and the boom, and the intensity of that sound, tells you exactly where the strike happened and how powerful it was. Now I want you to imagine shrinking that entire process down. Shrink it down to the microscopic level, and imagine using it to see inside the human body. This is the essence of photoacoustic imaging, or PAI. In the vast and rapidly evolving landscape of medical diagnostics, few technologies have bridged the gap between the seeing of light and the hearing of sound as effectively as PAI. Also known as optoacoustic imaging, this hybrid modality creates high-resolution, high-contrast images of biological tissues, literally by listening to the sound of light. While traditional imaging methods like X-ray, MRI, and ultrasound each have their superpowers, they also have their weaknesses. PAI has emerged as a unique contender that combines the best of two worlds. It takes the rich contrast of optical spectroscopy and combines it with the deep penetration of ultrasound. It is a technology that allows us to see not just the anatomy of the body, but its chemistry. It allows us to watch the brain think, to see a tumor feeding itself, and to map the intricate web of blood vessels without a single incision or a drop of radiation. Today, we are going to take a comprehensive journey through the history, the physics, the engineering, and the groundbreaking clinical applications of photoacoustic imaging. We will travel from the 19th century laboratory of Alexander Graham Bell to the cutting-edge AI-enhanced scanners of 2026, revealing how this lightning and thunder technology is poised to revolutionize medicine. Let us begin with the history, starting with a discovery that dates back much further than you might expect. Most of the world knows Alexander Graham Bell as the father of the telephone, but in 1880, 4 years after patenting the telephone, Bell made a discovery he loved even more. He was experimenting with the transmission of sound using light beams, with a device he called the photophone. Bell found that when he modulated a beam of sunlight and focused it onto a solid object, like a disc of selenium or a sheet of rubber, the object would actually emit sound waves. He had discovered the photoacoustic effect. He wrote in his notes, "I have heard articulate speech by sunlight. I have heard a ray of the sun laugh and cough and sing." Bell correctly deduced what was happening. The material was absorbing the flashing light, heating up and expanding, then cooling down and contracting. This rapid expansion and contraction created pressure waves in the air, which we perceive as sound. Despite his enthusiasm, the technology was way ahead of its time. The sun was not a stable enough light source, and human ears were not sensitive enough detectors for medical use. So the photoacoustic effect remained a scientific curiosity, a dusty footnote in physics textbooks, for nearly a century. This period was known as the Dark Ages for the technology. It was not until the invention of the laser in the 1960s that the field began to wake up. Unlike sunlight, lasers could deliver short, intense bursts of energy at specific wavelengths. Simultaneously, the development of sensitive ultrasound transducers meant we no longer had to rely on the naked ear to hear the song of the materials. By the 1990s, pioneers like Dr. Li-Hong Wang realized that biological tissues are essentially soft, watery bags of light-absorbing molecules. If you hit tissue with a laser pulse, the blood inside should sing. By the early 2000s, the first crude images of blood vessels were being produced, and since then, the field has exploded. What started as benchtop physics experiments has now, in the mid-2020s, matured into sophisticated clinical machines capable of 3D real-time imaging. To truly appreciate this, we must understand the physics of how light becomes sound. The process can be broken down into 3 distinct acts: absorption, conversion, and propagation. Act 1 is optical absorption. It begins with a pulse of laser light. In medical imaging, we typically use nanosecond lasers, which emit pulses that last only a few billionths of a second. This light enters the tissue. Now, biological tissue is turbid, meaning it scatters light. If you shine a flashlight through your hand, you see a red glow because the light bounces around. However, the colors of the body, such as hemoglobin in blood, melanin in skin, lipids in fat, and water, absorb light at different wavelengths. The magic of PAI is that we can tune the laser. If we want to see blood vessels, we use a wavelength that blood likes to absorb. If we want to see fat, we tune to a lipid peak. The laser pulse dives into the tissue until it hits a molecule of the target. This leads to Act 2, thermoelastic expansion, or the pop. When the target molecule absorbs the photon, that energy is converted instantly into heat, causing a local temperature rise. It is crucial to note that this rise is infinitesimal, often less than a fraction of a degree Celsius, so the patient feels nothing. However, because the laser pulse is so short, the heat is generated faster than it can diffuse away, a condition known as thermal confinement. Simultaneously, the heat causes the molecule to expand. Because the expansion happens so quickly, the surrounding tissue does not have time to move out of the way. This creates a sudden buildup of pressure, known as stress confining. The result is a tiny localized explosion of pressure. The tissue pops at the molecular level. Finally, Act 3 is acoustic propagation. This pressure spike launches a mechanical wave outward in all directions. This is an ultrasound wave. This is the brilliant trick of PAI. We send in light which has high contrast but scatters easily, and we get out sound, which travels through tissue in straight lines with very little scattering. PAI uses the light to choose the target and the sound to locate it, allowing us to hear the optical absorption from centimeters deep within the body. Now, let us look at the engineering behind the magic. A photoacoustic system is a marriage of advanced photonics and ultrasonics. The heart of the system is the laser. We use powerful ND-YAG lasers, or tunable lasers called OPOs, that allow the operator to dial in specific wavelengths to distinguish between oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. In the 2020s, we have seen the rise of high-power LED arrays and laser diodes. These are cheaper, compact, and fast, enabling handheld battery-operated PAI probes. The ears of the system are ultrasound transducers that convert the incoming sound waves back into electrical signals. We use linear arrays for 2D cross-sectional images and hemispherical arrays for 3D tomography. A breakthrough between 2024 and 2026 involves optical ultrasound detectors. Instead of crystals, these systems use tiny optical sensors that detect the vibration of the tissue surface with extreme sensitivity. Finally, the brain of the system handles image reconstruction. While classic algorithms used back projection, as of 2026, artificial intelligence has taken over. Neural networks can reconstruct high-quality images from sparse data, allowing for faster scanning and denoising the image to leave a crystal-clear picture of the vasculature. Photoacoustic imaging is not just one machine, it is a family of techniques. We have photoacoustic microscopy, or PAM, which is like histology without a slice. It focuses light to a tiny point to see individual capillaries. Then there is photoacoustic tomography, or PECT, which illuminates a large volume of tissue at once. The RusPAT system developed recently rotates sensors to create vivid 3D color maps of whole organs in under a minute. We also have photoacoustic endoscopy, where miniaturized probes go inside the body to look at arterial plaque or the GI tract. Perhaps most futuristic is photoacoustic remote sensing, or PAS. This solves the problem of needing sticky gel or water for ultrasound. PARS uses a second laser beam to read the vibrations of the tissue surface optically. This is revolutionary for ophthalmology and burn imaging, where touching the patient is difficult. Another major advantage of PAI is contrast. Radiologists love contrast, and PAI offers a diverse palette. The biggest advantage is that we often do not need to inject anything, because the body is full of natural absorbers. Hemoglobin is the superstar. PAI is the only modality that can directly measure oxygen saturation at high resolution without dyes. Oxyhemoglobin is red, and deoxyhemoglobin is purple-blue, and PAI sees the difference clearly. This allows for functional imaging, detecting where oxygen is being consumed. We can also see melanin to measure melanoma depth, lipids to map arterial plaque, and even DNA and RNA in the UV range. When natural contrast isn't enough, we turn to the nanotech revolution, using gold nanoparticles or organic dyes that can be targeted to stick specifically to tumor cells. We have arrived at the most critical question: what can this technology actually do for patients? As of 2026, the clinical translation is accelerating rapidly. In oncology, PAI is catching killers early. Take breast cancer, for example. Mammograms are painful and use ionizing radiation. They also struggle with dense breasts. PAI excels here because tumors are metabolic engines hungry for oxygen. They grow a messy network of blood vessels. PAI sees this vascular chaos and the low oxygen saturation typical of tumors. Recent single-breath hold scanners can image a whole breast in 15 seconds without compression or radiation. A 2026 study showed PAI could differentiate benign cysts from malignant tumors with over 90% accuracy. In dermatology, PAI is the gold standard for measuring melanoma depth, which is critical for survival rates. It can measure the tumor's bottom boundary in 3D, non-invasively before surgery. In neurology, we can watch the brain at work. The brain consumes massive amounts of oxygen. PAI can perform functional neuroimaging to detect the area of the brain starved of oxygen during a stroke, helping doctors decide on treatment. In 2024, researchers even used PAI through the soft spot of infants to monitor brain health in the NICU. In cardiology, intravascular photoacoustics can distinguish between stable plaque and dangerous lipid-rich plaque inside arteries, which could revolutionize preventative cardiology. And in rheumatology, a handheld PAI scanner can now image finger joints to detect synovial hypoxia, an early sign of arthritis that appears long before bone damage is visible on X-rays. Looking to the future horizon of 2026 and beyond, the field is moving toward theranostics, combining therapy and diagnostics. Since PAI uses lasers, we can use a low-energy pulse to find a tumor and a high-energy pulse to treat it with photothermal therapy. We are also seeing the stethoscope of the future. With miniaturization, we are moving toward pocket-sized devices that allow primary care doctors to instantly see the oxygenation of an artery or the depth of a mole on a smartphone. Hybrid systems like optical coherence photoacoustic microscopy are also becoming the norm, combining structural and molecular imaging in real time. In conclusion, photoacoustic imaging is no longer a scientific curiosity. It is a mature, robust field that addresses fundamental limitations of modern medicine. By converting the silent absorption of light into the audible language of ultrasound, it gives physicians a new sense. From the 15-second breast scan to the handheld arthritis probe, PAI is making the invisible visible. As AI refines the images and costs come down, we are approaching a future where listening to the light will be as routine as listening to a heartbeat. The thunder that Alexander Graham Bell heard in 1880 has finally arrived, and it is reshaping the landscape of healthcare. Thank you for listening to G Fun Facts Online.